Hello everybody, thanks for joining me on today's tutorial. It's a little weird using the phrase tutorial here because when it comes to BFM, there's always somebody that knows more about it than you do. And it doesn't matter how skilled you are at this, there's always someone better. So I'll always feel a little weird saying that, but I will impart what I know about how to kill a MiG-21 for you all here. And again, this is not a pre-scripted engagement where you're seeing a cherry-picked fight where it's the best of what I can do and all the times I lose are left on the cutting room floor. This is what you see and this is what I do. So MiG-21 just turned in. We're going to slice low and use altitude here for advantage. In the F-4, this is an airplane that benefits from speed, so if you can turn and use gravity in your favor to maintain or increase energy without burning engine power, that is a good thing. It also helps with fuel management because if you have to climb, that uses afterburner, a lot more fuel. If you don't have to climb and you can use the ground to help speed you up, that'll save you some fuel, and as you well know, fuel management is a big part of BFM. It's not something you see in Top Gun, but if you kill the bandit and run out of gas, you still lose. So turning back down here, fighting a MiG-21 is a game of patience in the F-4, and it's a game of patience for two reasons. One is keeping tally of the bandit is going to be a bit of a challenge because a MiG-21 is a very small airplane. Some of you that have never seen one in person may not realize just how small these things are. MiG-21 is, especially if it's an early model, those airplanes are about the size of some of you people's pickup trucks. So it's very difficult to keep an eye on those things when they're turning around, and sometimes that can make all the difference because of the old saying of lose sight and lose the fight. So sometimes when you fight the MiG-21, you're going to lose sight, and that's when it's key to keep your speed up, because if you have knots, you have options. And if you see the MiG behind you and you've got 450, 500 knots in the jet, you can generate some overshoot and reset the fight. If you're just scraping around at 200 knots and you lose sight, that's a whole different set of problems. So the game plan here as we turn is to just keep speed on the jet. Don't get greedy. That's the phrase that I want to drill down here is this is not a fight where you're going to make one or two turns and then the fight's over. It works like that with some of the fourth generation stuff where you don't even get a complete turn, 2 Fox 2s and it's over. With these older jets, you got to be patient. You can't just yank the stick around, get the nose around, and then shoot. You have to conserve your energy, maneuver conservatively, and don't get aggressive until you are in the bandits' control zone and you've put yourself in a place where they can't get rid of you. And closure management is pretty crucial, because if you make one mistake in the closure management, you're in trouble. So right now I'm coming down low, trying my best to keep the MiG-21 in sight as he passes behind my 6. Now I'm going to pivot back in, get inside the MiG-21 circle here. Again, keeping sight. You know, people get wrapped around the axle when it comes to turn capabilities and all that, but it's the basics that'll get you the victory here. Keeping sight, not getting greedy. Those are key points. So now I'm coming up into the vertical here. This also demonstrates how the terrain can make a difference in your fight too. Coming back down. It's terrain and skill that matters. Or not terrain and skill alone, but terrain and skill matters more, I should say, than EM charts and 1 circle, 2 circle lectures. Sometimes 1 circle matters, sometimes 2 circle matters, sometimes no circles matter, and you just leave the fight because that's the proper thing to do. MiG-21 tried to dive in there, so I'm going to pull up. Again, using the vertical here. Rule of thumb with the F-4, if you have a doubt about which direction to turn, just go up. So now I'm going to let the MiG-21 just kind of come forward there. I'm not going to try to pull the nose around and shortcut him here. Just going to be patient.
11 o'clock now.
If you get greedy in this jet, you get dead. Like I said, folks, not very exciting, but that's how patience pays off. You know, you gotta play the conservative turn when you're doing this. Keeping an eye out here. Using the terrain to kind of block my 6 from, you know, my 3 o'clock onto my 6 o'clock, because I know if the mountain's there, he can't turn that direction, right? So I'm coming back around. I'm not ashamed to admit it. A couple of times I lost sight in this engagement, but that's just what happens when you're fighting a MiG-21 that's the size of a van. Coming back down here. A little bit of traffic down there. Gonna use the terrain here, stay low, make sure I don't get jumped from underneath and behind. Using the terrain here to kind of cover myself. Another point I'll make about the F-4, this is an airplane that benefits from a low altitude fight, so if you have the ability to, try to work the fight as low as you can. Just coming back around here. The thicker the air, the more turn options you have, the better kinematics your jet has, and the F-4 can usually outperform most jets of its technological era at low altitude. Come back around. Again, these earlier generation dogfights are not very exciting compared to some of the more thrilling, you know, 4th generation stuff where you got thrust vectoring and Cobras and all kinds of Cirque du Soleil airplane stuff. Here it's just a game of patience and cunning. Using the vertical here, kind of generate some separation here, slowing down and going up. Using the F-4's vertical capability to roll up in the vertical, come back down. And now the fight's going to get real interesting. So this is where we have to hit the patience button big time, because we don't want to get greedy. We do want to maintain tactical agility on the fight. So this is an example of what happens when you start getting greedy. Punched off a Sidewinder, aim 9B, thinking I had that shot cold, and the missile felt otherwise. So yep, patience is a virtue here. Figure I got him cold on this one too. Called it wrong, wasted another perfectly good missile. This little sequence of shots here should give you guys a real good idea of why, when you look at those Vietnam era kill probabilities, you really need to bear in mind that it's not necessarily the missile's fault. If you as the operator get greedy in these kind of 3rd generation versus 3rd generation fights and you start firing missiles, even if you have a snapshot that really would have been in parameters, something can change in the next minute that just makes the shot inviable, and that's what you're seeing here. So those 2 shots, I like to think that they were pretty valid at one point when I pulled the trigger, but then the MiG-21 maneuvers and that's a wrap. So it's not like modern stuff where you point your eyes at somebody, punch off an R-73, and it's game over. Once again, leveraging the vertical, coming back down to re-engage here. Like I said before, I don't cut these fights to make myself look like Maverick. What you see is how I do, and maybe it's There are times where that means you get to see some unentertaining, very static footage, but here it is in all its glory and all its flaws. So the goal here is not to make myself look pretty, it's to present a learning event for myself and for you all, so everybody here can get better. So now I'm getting back on the MiG-21 here. Bear in mind also that YouTube's video compression is going to make this a little bit less crisp than it was when I was flying it. So now we got a launch.
It's all yours, run a 6.
Adios, Bandit.
The Bandit is going down.
There you have it, folks. So, learning lessons here. If you're coming from a 4th generation or newer kind of airplane, you have to patience yourself. You have to pace yourself and operate with a more of a patient outlook on your fight. Don't try to get greedy and make a first turn wonder shot, because that's just not how these airplanes operate. Take your time, use the vertical, don't get greedy, don't pull the trigger right away because you get tone. Bear in mind that the Bandit might still be able to maneuver, and if they can still maneuver, they can deny the missile shot, and you see what you see here. So also, this should also give you guys some insight on why some of the kill probabilities were what they were in Vietnam with this jet, because you can do everything right, have a valid shot, pull the trigger, and then something changes and the shot just goes stupid, and then it gets on the record as having been a miss, and then you see 25% kill probability for the AIM-9, 7% kill probability on the AIM-7, and then folks start drawing the conclusion that those missiles didn't work. And as you see, even if you do everything right, you can still miss. So yeah, we'll conclude the discussion here. Thank you for tuning in and watching, and consider subscribing if you like my content. Catch you in the next one.